Good afternoon. My name is Kelsey Cook. I lead the Chemical Measurement and Imaging program in the Division of Chemistry at the National Science Foundation, and I'd like to welcome you to Conversations with the National Science Foundation. My colleagues and I have set an ambitious agenda for the coming hour, during which we hope to give you a broad overview of the organization we all serve. The organizers of NOBCChE are to be congratulated for their courage, stamina, and effectiveness in advancing this 47th annual but first ever virtual NOBCChE conference. Given the format, it may be a bit presumptuous of us to call this a conversation, but we are standing by to answer your written questions in the Q&A or chat boxes, and more importantly, most of us will be available at the virtual NSF booth to address your questions one-on-one or in small groups. All of us really believe in the civil service creed. We're from the government and we're here to help. Near the end of this presentation, my chemistry colleague, Michelle Bushey, will share with you what might be the most important slide in the deck, encouraging you to contact the program director well in advance to determine if your project is appropriate. In the meantime, we'll offer information useful for students, postdocs, and faculty members across the large swath of NSF programs that touch on chemistry. We intend to make the slides available, embellished with live links and more details than we have time to present today. So you don't need to take detailed notes as we're going along, but you may want to jot down questions as they come to mind so that you can ask them in the Q&A, in the booth, or by email. Before we dig in, I'd like to provide you with a little bit of background. Although we're called a foundation, NSF is actually a federal agency like NIH or DOE, but much smaller. We grew out of the post-World War II realization of the value of fundamental research, as described in Vannevar Bush's 1945 book entitled Science, the Endless Frontier. Partly as a result of that publication, we received an ambitious charter in the NSF Act of 1950 that charged us not only with the progress of science, but also with advancing national health, prosperity, welfare, and defense. From the very beginning, we also took this to mean workforce development. Our first awards in 1952 were part of the Graduate Research Fellowship Program, the oldest program at NSF, and one we'd like to point out that has supported multiple nascent Nobel laureates. NSF has grown to be roughly an $8 billion per year enterprise, striving to support mostly academic research across science and engineering. We advance our mission generally through support of people, ideas, and tools. In the next hour, my colleagues will provide you with examples and some detail about each of these aspects of our mission. I've already mentioned the Graduate Research Fellowship Program, which was one of the few NSF programs that support people directly, in that it accepts applications from individual students. The Research Experience for Undergraduates, or REU program, is more typical of our ideas portfolio, in that support comes in response to proposals written by faculty, as do all of our individual investigator awards. There are a number of infrastructure programs intended to provide the tools needed to do research. The best known of these is the Major Research Instrumentation Program, which currently supports acquisition and development of instruments up to $4 million. The relatively new Mid-Scale Research Infrastructure Program supports shared equipment and facilities beyond the $4 million MRI cap. I am managing the first Chemistry Mid-Scale Award and would be happy to talk with you individually or to connect you with Principal Investigator Robert Baker if you have a need to use the $10 million high-power, high-speed laser facility at Ohio State. Finally, our Centers program addresses grand challenges too big to be tackled by researchers working alone. The highlighted links in this page all refer to NSF-wide solicitations. To give you an idea of the breadth of scope of their reach, I'd like to share with you the NSF organization chart. According to the terms of the NSF Act, NSF is overseen by the National Science Board, shown here at the upper right, a group of about 25 distinguished individuals selected by the President from among academia and research, and approved for 6-year terms by the Senate. More relevant to our discussion today, I draw your attention to the middle row of the table, which shows the 7 research directorates of the Foundation. I'd like to point out that chemistry's claim to being the central science is at least partially substantiated by the fact that in my 15 years at NSF, I have had co-funds with every one of the 7 research directorates, as well as with the Office of Integrative Activities and the Office of International Science and Engineering. In addition to my chemistry colleagues, Michelle Bushey and Colby Foss, we're joined this afternoon by David Rockcliffe from Biosciences Directorate, Nora Savage and Andre Marshall from Engineering, and Lara Campbell from the Office of Integrative Activities. Each of these will tell you a bit about their programs in the coming minutes. At this point, I'd like to use my last slide to give you a clearer view of the Directorate for Mathematical and Physical Sciences, my home directorate. In terms of funding, MPS is currently the largest directorate at NSF, with total investments nearing $1.5 billion per year. Of the 5 MPS divisions, the two most relevant to chemists are the Division of Chemistry and the Division of Materials Research. While I could give you a full-day description of each of these, I'm going to limit myself to listing their core programs grouped by submission windows. Chemistry divides its 9 core programs between 2 windows, with rules governed by our disciplinary research program solicitation cited near the top here. These programs cover all traditional chemistry disciplines, plus some important areas between the traditional course titles, things like environmental chemical sciences and the chemistry of life processes. If you have trouble assessing the boundary between, for instance, catalysis and synthesis, click the link, read the program description, and then take Michelle Bushey's advice and call the program officer. One of DMR's 7 core programs is experimenting with having no submission deadline. The others accept proposals in the month of October. The solid state materials chemistry program is more or less representative of the distinction between chemistry and materials research. In the most general terms, chemistry focuses on molecules, whereas materials looks at properties of larger ensembles. At this point, I'd like to introduce my chemistry colleague, Colby Foss, to talk about some NSF-wide programs targeting student participants.
Thank you, Kelsey. I'm going to talk about 2 programs that are student-focused. The first is for undergraduate students and is called the Research Experiences for Undergraduates, or REU program. The current solicitation is NSF 19582, and the underlined NSF 19582 in blue font is an active link to the current solicitation document. The REU program offers 2 mechanisms for grant support, and both paths are designed to engage students in actual research during their undergraduate education and to encourage a broader pool of students to ultimately consider careers in the STEM disciplines. The first path is the REU Sites path, where faculty members from a college or university submit a proposal for funding that would support 8 to 10 undergraduate students at their institution, which we call the host institution. The grant provides stipends for the students as well as materials and supplies needed for their research activities. In the REU Sites program, there are usually multiple faculty members at the host institution serving as research mentors, and most of the students are not from the host institution, but from all over the country. The other mechanism is the REU Supplement. Any faculty member who has an active NSF grant can apply for supplemental funding to provide stipends and supplies for 1 or 2 undergraduate researchers. This is different from the REU Sites program because supplemental REU funding does not require external review, and the students involved are typically from the faculty member's institution. Now, for those of you that are undergraduates and are interested in doing research at an REU site, this link will give you information on the currently active REU sites. The listings are categorized by scientific discipline, and you can find application forms and deadline information. The next program I want to tell you about is the Graduate Research Fellowship Program, or GRFP. Again, this underlined NSF 20587 in blue font is an active link to the solicitation documentation. You can also address questions to grfp@nsf.gov. So what is the GRFP? To you, the student, this is a grant that totals $138,000. It includes 3 years of stipend to you and educational costs to your institution. But you have the flexibility to use these funds within a 5-year period while you're enrolled in graduate school. If you are awarded a GRFP grant, you also have access to professional development opportunities such as the NSF GRIP and intern programs. And you also have access to supercomputing resources through the EXCEED program. To be eligible for a GRFP grant, you must be a US citizen, national, or permanent resident. You can apply if you are in the final years of your undergraduate education or within your first 2 years of your graduate education. And you must be pursuing a research-based master's or doctoral degree in one of the disciplines recognized by the NSF. The GRFP application deadlines are in October from the 19th to the 22nd. The specific deadline day depends on the discipline. And again, you can go to the NSF GRFP website to get details on application procedures and deadlines. There is also a very useful frequently asked questions site that we strongly recommend. At this FAQ site, you can get key information on composing your application and securing recommendation letters that are part of the package. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Lara Campbell from the NSF Office of Integrative Activities. She will tell you about even more programs that encompass all of NSF's scientific disciplines. Dr. Campbell.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lara Campbell, and I'm a program director in the Convergence Accelerator, which is in the Office of Integrative Activities. And I'll be happy to talk with you in our booth tomorrow or during the Q&A after this talk about our Convergence programs and any other programs in the Office of Integrative Activities at NSF. The next programs that I will discuss are all NSF-wide, meaning that they accept proposals in any discipline. So these are not chemistry-specific programs, but opportunities for the chemical sciences and chemical engineering to shine. I'm going to build off Colby's discussion of the research experience for undergraduates and the Graduate Research Fellowship Program by telling you about the International Research Experience for Students, or IRIS program, which seeks to enhance U.S. leadership in STEM research and education, and of course strengthen economic competitiveness by facilitating a globally engaged workforce with world-class skills. The IRIS program is very complementary to the REU program in that faculty submit a proposal in which meaningful research is conducted by students who receive impactful training in the process. The key difference, obviously, is that the IRIS program is explicitly international and allows the participating students to travel to and engage with international mentors and international students. An additional difference is that IRIS sites can include undergraduate or graduate students, or both. And however, IRIS Advanced Studies Institutes are only for graduate students. For all IRIS programs, the U.S. students who are supported by the program need to be U.S. citizens or permanent residents. I'd now like to tell you about several programs that seek to specifically improve research and education efforts at minority-serving institutions. The Historically Black Colleges and Universities Undergraduate Program, more fondly known as HBCU Up, has a plethora of different tracks, all designed to strengthen STEM undergraduate education and research capacity at HBCUs. For the sake of time, I'll let you read yourselves about these different tracks and just tell you that the submitting institution for this program must be an HBCU, and the program page available at that link has a host of really helpful and interesting information. I'd like to draw your attention now to the bottom of the slide, the HBCU Excellence in Research Program, which is what HBCU Up was previously called. It's now a standalone solicitation designed to strengthen research capacity at HBCUs and is focused more on traditional faculty-led research projects like what would be supported in any of NSF's disciplinary programs. A principal investigator on one of the HBCU EIR proposals must be a full-time faculty member at an HBCU, and there is, of course, some really helpful information at the program page. I'd now like to tell you about the Centers of Research Excellence in Science and Technology, the CREST program, and the HBCU Research Infrastructure for Science and Engineering. These two programs, that's HBCU RISE. They share a solicitation since both provide support to enhance the research capabilities of minority-serving institutions. 5 types of projects are supported under this program, all of which focus on centers that effectively integrate education and research. Applications must come from minority-serving institutions, or in the case of the CREST Postdoctoral Research Fellowship, from a postdoc associated with a CREST center. The acronym at the bottom, SBIR and STTR, stands for the Small Business Innovative Research and the Small Business Technology Transfer Research, and that supplement allows grantees, SBIR or STTR grantees, to engage with CREST or RISE centers. I'd now like to draw your attention to several programs that support NSF's goal of broadening participation in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The Lewis-Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, or LSAMP, can receive proposals from any institution of higher education and can support partnerships with nonprofit or for-profit organizations like museums or maybe companies engaged in chemical manufacturing. This program has 5 tracks that support alliances, pathways, and bridges, all obviously metaphorical pathways and bridges to enhance participation, and conferences also. The next deadline is in November of 2020, so that's right around the corner. The Improving Undergraduate STEM Education at Hispanic Serving Institutions, or HSI program, focuses on enhancing the quality of undergraduate STEM education at HSIs and seeks to increase the retention and graduation rates of students pursuing associate or bachelor's degrees in STEM. It also seeks to build capacity at HSIs that don't typically receive a lot of NSF funding. Proposals can only come from Hispanic serving institutions, and all the criteria for that are available at the link on the slide. There are, the next deadline is for planning projects and evaluation and implementation projects in January of 2021, which is not so far away. NSF also supports a suite of activities under our Career Life Balance Initiative that are designed to increase the placement, advancement, and retention of women in STEM disciplines. This includes supplement opportunities for the Graduate Research Fellowship, for postdocs, and for the career program, as well as a really helpful set of frequently asked questions that explain how any NSF award may use available funds to support things like leaves of absence and dependent care expenses. And speaking of supplements, I now get to describe some of the supplemental funding opportunities that may be of interest to this audience. Supplements are available only to existing awardees, so you have to already have a grant in order to apply for a supplement. First, the Directorate for Math and Physical Sciences has a graduate research supplement opportunity that engages current grantees with the Alliances for Graduate Education and the Professor projects. Next, the Non-Academic Research Internship for Graduate Students, or intern program, as the name implies, supports research internships of up to 6 months at locations beyond the traditional academic environments that most graduate students experience. Next, the Facilitation Awards for Scientists and Engineers with Disabilities opportunity provides supplements to support persons with physical disabilities by providing special equipment and other assistance needed to ensure their full participation in research and training. Then, the Directorate for Math and Physical Sciences also supports a graduate research supplement for veterans opportunity, which will support an additional PhD student on an existing project, as long as that student is a US veteran. And finally, the Chemistry Division continues to enthusiastically support, via supplements, researchers who want to create new or strengthen existing collaborations with researchers in other countries. For all supplement opportunities, the funded investigator should reach out to the cognizant NSF program officer, that's the person who already manages their award, and maybe also a person associated with one of these programs, and explain why you think a supplement would be valuable or justified. Program officers, like the people who are talking to you in this program today, are really nice and will be excited to help you enhance your efforts through supplemental funding opportunities. The Major Research Instrumentation Program, or MRI, is a foundation-wide effort to increase access to multi-user scientific and engineering instrumentation for research and research training. The program supports research instruments that are, in general, too costly or not appropriate for support through other NSF programs like the discipline-specific programs. Projects are up to $4 million, and the next proposal window is January 1st through 19th of 2021, just around the corner. And finally, Industries of the Future is an emerging priority area across the foundation. It's described here by our former director, Franz Cordova, but is very much of interest to our brand new director, Setharaman Panchanathan, or Punch, as he's already fondly known. This priority area includes advanced manufacturing, future manufacturing, biotech, quantum, and other areas that are likely to be of interest to chemists and chemical engineers. This priority area is likely to lead to new programs and initiatives across the foundation, so keep your eyes peeled for new information. And now I'd like to pass this on to Michelle Bushey.
Hello, I'm Michelle Bushey and I'm in the chemistry division at NSF. If you're a faculty member at a predominantly undergraduate institution, you may be interested to submit your proposal through the Research at Undergraduate Institutions mechanism. It's described in document 14-579, and that is a live link that will take you to the document. When you submit this way, your proposal will be reviewed alongside all the other proposals in that program. I would urge you to contact your authorized organizational representative, the person in your campus research office who's authorized to submit NSF grants, and they can help you determine if you are eligible for this mechanism. Now, the reason that you would want to do it is because we are aware that at such institutions, your workforce is part-time, seasonal, and less experienced than those of your counterparts at major research institutions. This is going to have an effect on your publication rate, your pace of research, and the scope of your work. And we let reviewers know that and ask them to consider it. We do expect that the quality of the science be just as high. One of the components of an RUI proposal is the RUI impact statement. It's a required 5-page document in addition to the typical 15 pages in a proposal that allows you to tell the reviewers about your local research environment. What's the department record like for research? How do you recruit students? How do your students succeed? How do teaching loads affect your ability to get into lab? All those things can be discussed, as well as what would be the impact of funding this research on your local environment. It's a great document and can help guide reviewers to understand your situation. Now, it does not replace the obligation to address broader impacts in the body of the proposal. You do need to keep that in mind. Now, you may not be ready to take on a 3-year NSF award at this point. You might instead be interested for a Research Opportunity Award. It is also described in that document, and the same eligibility requirements described therein apply. This will allow you to pursue research as a visiting scientist with other NSF-supported grantees. And so this is a way for you to become more involved in research, perhaps step into a new research area. The goal is to enhance your productivity, provide you with some professional development, perhaps influence your teaching, and it's a great way to get some research done. Most frequently, these are summer experiences. You'll go to somebody else's lab to the summer, but sometimes you can also support partial year sabbaticals. You can get some summer salary, support to travel to the other person's lab and stay there for a duration, and perhaps some research supplies as well. This does require that you connect with a collaborator who has an NSF grant or who is applying for an NSF grant. How do you find these people? Think about the colleagues in your field that you might want to work with. If you're looking for a new field, then think about and try to do some research on who's there. To find out if they have NSF support, or to explore a little bit more who's active in that area, you can go to the NSF Awards Search webpage. That is the link, and I'll talk about it more in a little bit. When you go to that webpage, you can put in the keywords of the topic you want to investigate, and it will return to you a list of people who are supported in that area, and see who's there and who you might be interested in working with. You could also contact a program director in a particular program, and they may be able to help you. Now, the nature of the research responsibility, the scope, the duration, how you're going to get paid, all of those aspects are matters that are negotiated between you and your collaborator. Once that's been determined, your collaborator will contact NSF, the NSF Program Director, and ask how funding might be obtained. And so now I'm going to turn this over to Nora Savage in the Engineering Directorate.
Hello. I'd like to speak with you about the Engineering Directorate, one of 7 directorates within the Foundation. The mission of the Engineering Directorate is to support innovative, fundamental engineering projects which strengthen the nation's research and education in all levels of engineering. So we support education at all levels, K-12 and beyond through grad school and postdoc. And we support research projects at a variety of levels, multidisciplinary and single disciplinary projects. The Engineering Directorate website is listed there above. And the FY20 budget for the Engineering Directorate was approximately $1 billion. The Engineering Directorate is led by Dr. Dawn Tilbury, who is the Assistant Director, and she is assisted by Dr. Linda Blevins, who is the Deputy Assistant Director. Approximately 2 years ago, the Engineering Directorate instituted no deadline, which means the core programs accept proposals at any time, and we review on a rolling basis. So we welcome your proposals at any time to the core programs with a program description. If there is a solicitation, that will have a deadline, and you must adhere to that deadline. But the core programs have no deadline. On the left, you will see 2 boxes that I'd like to speak to for a brief moment. The first is EFMA, the Engineering Frontiers and Multidisciplinary Activities Office. Recently, the Foundation issued a call for rapid proposals on COVID-19. Rapid proposals are shorter in duration than traditional proposals, so they're approximately 1 to 2 years. They are smaller in budget and smaller in scope, and they're traditionally used to meet a current need that has time-sensitive or ephemeral data associated with that need. And so we issued a call to help us address, the engineering community address the pandemic challenge. And the EFMA office coordinated these proposals for the Engineering Directorate. Another activity in the EFMA office is the EFRI program, which is Emerging Frontiers in Research and Innovation. This program issues a solicitation every 2 years, and the ideas or the topics for the solicitation we get from you, from students, from the general public, from researchers, from the academic community. We put out a call asking you to give us a topical idea that you currently view as being a national challenge or a need. And this challenge or need must be one in which engineering can play a lead role, or engineers can play a leading and a critical role. So that's the stipulation for that program. In October, we will issue a call for those topical ideas. The 2 current ideas that were generated from the last solicitation, which was in 2019, were on plastics and on distributed manufacturing. So if you're interested, they're approximately $2 million proposals. There'll be 1 more call for those, and they involved sort of a team of 4, at least 4 PIs working together. Below the EFMA, you'll see the Office for the Senior Advisor for Science and Engineering, Dr. Mihail Wolko. If you're involved in nano research, you will know his name. He was at the White House when the National Nanotechnology Initiative Act was signed into law. Below you see the 5 divisions that make up the Engineering Directorate. These divisions, the core programs within these divisions have no solicitation, again, no solicitation, no program deadline. So you're welcome to submit your proposals at any time. The divisions are Engineering Education and Centers, EEC, Chemical, Bioengineering, Environmental and Transport Systems, CBET, Civil, Mechanical and Manufacturing Innovation, CMMI, Electrical Communications and Cyber Systems, ECCS, and Industrial Innovation and Partnerships, IIP. The two divisions that will go into more detail for you today are IIP and CBET because of the audience, chemical engineers and chemists. These are the two programs that are most likely suited for your research. So first, CBET. CBET has a mission of supporting fundamental innovative engineering proposals, which involve first, the transformation of matter by chemical, thermal, or biological means, or the transport of mass, momentum, or energy. And the aim of the research that we support is to, 1, improve the quality of life, 2, to enable us to live sustainably upon the planet, and 3, to help us develop the next generation of engineers who will help create a strong workforce for the nation. The CBET programs are listed here, and the CBET webpage is at the top. When you click on these programs, you will be led to the program description. And again, these programs have open deadlines or no deadlines, so you're welcome to submit at any time. You'll see at the top, right before the program description, the program director's name, email, and telephone number. At CBET, we're organized by thematic clusters. And the first cluster is the Chemical Process Systems cluster. Programs within that cluster are catalysis, electrochemical systems, interfacial engineering, and process systems, reaction engineering, and molecular thermodynamics. The second cluster is the Engineering, Biology, and Health cluster, and that cluster has 5 programs within it, and they are biophotonics, biosensing, cellular and biochemical engineering, disability and rehabilitation engineering, and engineering of biomedical systems. The third cluster, environmental engineering and sustainability, has 3 programs, and they are environmental engineering, environmental sustainability, and nanoscale interactions, which is the program I manage. And the last cluster is the transport phenomena cluster, which has 4 programs: combustion and fire systems, fluid dynamics, particulate and multi-phase processes, and thermal transport processes. Again, within CBET, we welcome communication, interaction with you. Feel free to email or call us to discuss a research idea. Now I will turn it over to my colleague, Andre, who will talk a little bit about the Industrial Innovation and Partnerships Division within the Engineering Directorate. Thank you for your attention.
Next, I'll dive into IIP for a moment, describing our programs on the list. Hello, I'm Andre Marshall. I'm one of the I-Corps program directors. I share the I-Corps program with my colleague, Ruth Schumann. The Division of Industrial Innovation and Partnerships Programs, or IIP programs, can be found within the Engineering Directorate at NSF, but span relevance and application throughout the entire foundation. IIP programs accelerate translation of NSF-funded and federally funded fundamental research into market opportunities and foster public-private partnerships to advance technology innovation. We support these translational efforts through thoughtful programs, recognizing the need for different strategies depending on the situation to get technology out of the laboratory and into the marketplace. America's Seed Fund, powered by NSF, also known as the NSF SBIR STTR program, provides up to $1.75 million in R&D funding for startups to develop transformative, deep tech, high-impact technologies that will result in products and services with commercial impact and societal benefit. The Innovation Core, or I-Core program, provides support for NSF-funded faculty, students, and other researchers to launch successful tech startups through entrepreneurial training, empowering them with critical skills and insights for translating their research discoveries from the laboratory to the marketplace. As part of my I-Core discussion, I'd like to highlight the GEM I4 initiative. GEM I4 is a partnership with the GEM Consortium, providing diversity and inclusion infrastructure in support of I-Core to increase underrepresented minority participation in the program. A core activity of this program is strategic outreach to the GEM network for targeted placement of Black and Brown graduate students, faculty, and entrepreneurs in the I-Core National Innovation Network. This is all made possible through deep engagement between the GEM and NIN networks. The Industry University Cooperative Research Center program provides a collaborative research center framework and funding for university researchers to catalyze pre-competitive, use-inspired research through sustained engagement between industry, academia, and government agencies. There are currently over 70 centers of excellence across the country, consisting of over 200 universities and 800 unique industry or government members participating in this program. The Partnerships for Innovation, or PFI program, provides prototyping awards of up to $250K or $550K for university researchers with previously funded NSF awards to advance their related technologies toward the marketplace. Participation in I-Core is required during the performance period of a PFI award. And finally, the Goalie Intern Program provides a supplemental funding opportunity for faculty to support their graduate students with up to $55K in 6 months for non-academic internships, either in industry or in government. These internships can catalyze industry-university engagement, and industry hiring is one of the best ways to translate technology from the university. Please do visit the following link for more info. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David Rockcliffe, and I'm a program director in the Division of Molecular and Cellular Biosciences, MCB. I will provide you with a peek at the Directorate for Biological Sciences, better known as Biodirectorate. The mission of the Biodirectorate is to enable funding of discoveries in life sciences, to push forward the frontiers of US science and engineering research, and drive discovery and innovation. 69% of academic basic research in non-medical biology is supported by NSF, including bio. Bio, like the rest of NSF, supports basic research to enable discoveries that ultimately achieve significant downstream impacts through partnerships and international collaboration. A commitment to integrate research and education, broaden participation of underrepresented groups in science, and promote international partnerships is integral to all activities across the Directorate. Bio's international portfolio includes collaborations in countries around the world. These international collaborations are essential to our work, enabling us to support studies that must be performed at a specific site in the field, For example, many of our ecological or environmental biology projects involve research conducted at international sites. These international activities also foster collaborations that leverage the combined skill sets of scientists both in the US and abroad that share an interest in common problems. Bio-supported research sheds light on the principles and mechanisms governing life across all scales and complexities, from individual biological molecules all the way up to entire ecosystems. This slide depicts the manner in which the 4 divisions in bio cover biological research across scales. While the Bio Directorate is organized into divisions spanning all levels of biological organization, we encourage convergent collaborative research that thinks beyond the traditional disciplinary silos to ask key life science questions that will provide insights into issues of national importance, such as food, health, energy, and the environment. The Bio Directorate also encourages interdisciplinary research and is involved in active collaborations with programs within directorates, such as mathematical and physical sciences, engineering and computer, and information science and engineering. Most of the programs in the divisions of the Bio Directorate do not have deadlines for proposal submissions. However, there are a few programs that do. Therefore, it is recommended that you find out whether or not your particular program of interest has a deadline. Here is the structure of the organization of the Directorate for Biological Sciences. Going from right to left, they are the Division of Molecular and Cellular Biosciences, MCB, which has 4 clusters, the Division of Integrative Organismal Systems, IOS, which has 5 clusters, the Division of Environmental Biology, DEB, which has 4 clusters, the Division of Biological Infrastructure, DBI, which has 2 clusters. I will provide you now with a little more information on the Division of Molecular and Cellular Biosciences, as well as the Division of Integrative Organismal Systems, which are the divisions that might be of particular interest to you. Supporting research at the smallest scale of biological organization and how knowledge at the molecular and cellular level informs all other levels of biological organization, from organisms to the biosphere, is the Division of Molecular and Cellular Biosciences. MCB emphasizes quantitative, predictive, and theory-driven science aimed at understanding complex living systems at molecular, subcellular, and cellular levels. The clusters include molecular biophysics, cellular dynamics and function, genetic mechanisms, and systems and synthetic biology. If your projects involve processes related to understanding individual organisms, then the Division of Integrative Organismal Systems, IOS, may be the place for your research. IOS is interested in organisms as integrated units of organization, with emphasis on systems-level approaches to study development, function, behavior, and evolution. IOS has 5 clusters focused on behavior, development, neural systems, physiological and structural systems, and plant genome research.
Hello again. When you submit your proposal, it's going to be reviewed, and reviewers are going to be considering a number of things that you have described. What you want to do, why you want to do it, how you're going to do it, what will you know when you succeed, or how will you know if you succeed, and what benefits would come out from it. And many of the programs, and you've heard about a lot of them during this presentation, many of the programs will have specific additional review criteria, and you'll want to read those very carefully in those documents. but every NSF proposal has something in common with every other, and that is there are two universal review requirements that we direct reviewers to. One is intellectual merit, and that's the potential of your work to advance scientific knowledge. And the second one is broader impacts, and that's the potential of your work to have a particular desired outcome in terms of societal outcomes. Both of these review criteria have to be met in your proposal. Neither by itself is sufficient to get funding. Both of them have to be in place. We don't tell reviewers how to rate the two of these, how to rank them side by side, but we do tell them to consider both. Now, if you're thinking about submitting a proposal to NSF, you need to find the right NSF home for it. Each program will have a particular scope for funding, and you want to fall within that range. So I urge you to go to our NSF website and find out more about us. And when you have gotten the ideas together about what you want to propose, go to our search abstract site in the blue hot link right there, and you're going to enter the keywords for your work. And the search engine will return to you other recently funded work that falls under those keywords. And that's going to give you a lot of information. You'll find out who else is doing the work, how many awards were recently made, but most importantly, which directorates, divisions, and programs fund that work. We fund work by the research idea, not the department you're in. So it's important that you find the best fit for your research. You're going to want to talk to a program director perhaps 4 months in advance of submitting your proposal. You do not want to have to submit a proposal. You don't want to submit a proposal close to a deadline and get the word back that this doesn't fit the program, send it somewhere else. You want to make sure that you have the correct program identified early on. So when you find the list of recently funded work, it's going to direct you to particular programs. Go to those websites. Read the descriptions very carefully. Those websites will give you 2 other pieces of information. At the very bottom of most of them, you're going to see a link, find other work that was supported by this program, and you're going to click that link and it's going to go back to the search engine. You can kind of do a reverse search and see what other things the program is funding. But it's also going to provide you with the program director names, and these are the people you need to contact. The way to contact them is to write a 1 to 2 page white paper describing what it is that you want to do, how and why, and you're going to email it to the particular program director in the most relevant program for your work. And then you're going to ask them for an opportunity to discuss it. I also urge you to keep paying attention, get on our email lists, and find out about Dear Colleague letters and other funding opportunities that appear during the year. And finally, the other piece of information is to follow directions. Nothing is more frustrating other than perhaps missing a deadline or finding out your proposal belongs to a different program than to have a proposal kicked back to you because of some technical issue. I urge you to look at this document, Proposal and Award Policies and Procedures. We call it the PAPPG, and it will describe all the criteria for putting together a proposal for NSF. Now, finally, nothing prepares you to write a really good proposal than reading a whole bunch of proposals, good and bad. And we're always looking for new reviewers and new panelists. So find the programs through the award search of the programs you'd like to review for and send a note to those program directors, perhaps attach a bio sketch, and give them a paragraph of your research interests and what you'd like to review for. And we're always looking for new reviewers, and if you don't have conflicts with particular proposals, we'll try to get you on board. And it's a terrific learning experience. I highly recommend it. If you're at a different career stage, you might want to consider serving as a rotator at NSF. Typically, rotators are at the professor level or perhaps advanced associate professor levels, but it varies, right? If you're interested, contact us. Contact a program director or the division director or the deputy division director. We are always searching for program directors, and this can take several months to over a year. So if you're thinking about it, contact one of us. It's a terrific experience. All the people who've been speaking, who are act as program directors, began as rotators. Sometimes we become permanent NSF employees. Sometimes we go back to our home institution, but we urge you to consider that. And finally, we're going to, we have some time to answer some questions for you. So I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much.